Solve equations with rational coefficients. Lesson 2.1, Part 1. Standard is 8EE7, 8EE7A, and 8EE7B. The objective is to solve equations with rational coefficients, and the essential question is, what is equivalence? Steps to clear fractions. Step 1. Make any mixed fractions improper. Step 2. Identify the lowest common denominator. Step 3. Multiply every term on both sides by the LCD. Step 4. Multiply the LCD by the numerator, then divide by the denominator. Step 5. You should have an equation without fractions that you can solve. How to make a mixed number mad. First, we multiply the denominator with the whole number, then we add the numerator. So 5 times 3 gives us 15, plus 1 is 16. That becomes the numerator, and we keep the denominator the same. Next steps to solving equations. Step 1. Isolate the variable by using addition or subtraction properties. Step 2. Use multiplication or division properties to remove any values that are in front of the variable. Example number 1. Solve the equation. 1 over 3x minus 1 over 6 equals 1 over 2. So in order to solve this, I need to first list the lowest common denominator. In order to find that, I need to go ahead and list my denominators, which are 2, 3, and 6. I'm going to go ahead and list my multiples first for 2, which are 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Now my multiples for 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. My multiples for 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, and 30. Now I notice that the number that they have in common that is the lowest is 6. So that is my LCD, because it's the smallest number they have in common. So now I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my equation. 1 over 3x minus 1 over 6 equals 1 over 2. I'm going to go ahead and multiply the whole thing by my LCD, which is 6. I'm going to go ahead and distribute to the first term, the second term, and the third term. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply. So I'm going to multiply 6 times 1, multiply my numerator, which is 6, and I'm going to leave my denominator the same, which is 3. And then bring down my x. Now I'm going to multiply the 6 times the 1, which is 6. List my denominator, which is 6, equals 6 times 1 is 6 all over 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide. 6 divided by 3 is 2x. Minus 6 divided by 6 is 1. And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that over here. I have 2x minus 1 equals 3. Now I need to get x alone. So what I need to do is move the term -1 to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and move it by adding 1 to it. I need to do the opposite. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. These cancel out because 1 take away 1 is 0. I'm going to bring down my 2x. And then 3 plus 1 is 4. I notice that 2x is multiplication because I'm multiplying, they're next to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 cancels out because that's 1. So I'm just going to bring down my x. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my answer is x equals 2. Example 2. Solve the equation. 2 over 5x plus 3 equals 3 over 4. In order to solve this equation, I need to find the LCD. In order to do that, I need to list my denominators, which are 4 and 5. The multiples for 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. Multiples for 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. Now I notice that the number that they have in common that is the lowest is 20. So that is my LCD. Now I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my problem. I have 2 over 5 x plus 3 equals 3 over 4. I'm going to multiply the whole thing by my LCD, which is 20. I'm going to multiply my 20 to the first term, the second term, and the third term. So 20 times 2 is 40, and then I leave my denominator the same, which is 5. I have x. Then 20 times 3 gives me 60, then equals 20 times 3 gives me 60 again, over 4. I'm going to go ahead and divide now. 40 divided by 5 is 8x. Bring down the 60, and then I have 60 divided by 4. That gives me 15. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my equation over here. I have 8x plus 60 equals 15. I need to get x alone, so I'm going to move that 60 to the other side. So I have positive 60. The opposite of that is negative 60. I need to do that to both sides. This will cancel out. I'll be left with 8x equals 15 minus 60 is negative 45. So since I have 8 times x, that is multiplication, I need to do the opposite of that, which is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8. These cancel out. I'll be left with x equals negative 45 over 8, or negative 5 and 5/8. And that is my answer. Example 3. Solve the equation. 1 over 5 times 2x plus 1 equals 1 over 2. So the first thing I need to do is find the LCD. So I'm going to go ahead and list my denominators, which are 2 and 5. I'm going to list my multiples for 2, which are 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. My multiples for 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. I notice that the smallest number they have in common is 10, so that is my LCD. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my problem, which is 1 over 5 times 2x plus 1 equals 1 over 2. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply by my LCD, which is 10. However, I'm only going to distribute that to the 1 over 5 and the 1 over 2. I am not going to distribute to what's in parentheses because it's already in parentheses. So 10 times 1 is 10, and my denominator is 5. I'm going to go ahead and list what's inside parentheses, which is 2x plus 1. And then 10 times 1 is 10 over 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and divide. 10 divided by 5 gives me 2. I'm going to bring this all down, 2x plus 1. And then 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that up here. I'm going to have 2x plus 1 equals 5. So now I'm going to distribute. I'm going to multiply the 2 with the first term and the second term. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. I need to list my x there. This will give me 2 equals 5. So I need to get x alone, so I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides because I have a positive 2. So the opposite of that is negative 2. I'm going to do that to both sides. This cancels out. I'll be left with 4x equals 5 take away 2. That gives me 3. So since I have 4 times x, I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. I'm going to divide by 4. This will cancel out. I'll be left with x equals 3 over 4. And that is my answer. Example 4. Solve the equation 1 over 5x equals 12. Since I only have one fraction, I'm going to multiply the whole equation by the denominator of 5. So my LCD is going to be 5. I'm going to rewrite my equation. 1 over 5x equals 12. I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 5 and distribute with the first term and the second term. So 5 times 1 is 5 over 5x. 12 times 5 is 60. I'm going to go ahead and divide. 5 divided by 5 is 1x equals 60. And my answer is x equals 60. Example 5. Solve the equation negative 2 over 9d equals 4. Since I only have one fraction, I'm going to go ahead and multiply the whole equation by my denominator, which is 9. So my LCD is 9. I'm going to rewrite my equation. Minus 2 over 9d equals 4. I'm going to multiply the whole thing by 9. So I'm going to distribute with my first term and the second term. So negative 2 times 9 gives me negative 18 over 9d equals 9 times 4 gives me 36. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide. Negative 18 divided by 9 gives me negative 2d equals 36. Since 2 times d is multiplication, I'm going to go ahead and do the inverse, which is division. So I'm going to divide by negative 2 on both sides. This cancels out. I will be left with d equals negative 36 divided by 2 gives me negative 18. So my answer is d equals negative 18. Example 6. Solve the equation 4 and 1/6 equals 3 and 1/3 c. In order to solve this equation, I'm going to have to convert my mixed numbers into improper fractions. So in order to do that, I'm going to make my fractions mad. So I'm going to multiply my denominator with my whole number and then add my numerator. So 6 times 4 gives me 24, plus 1 is 25. And that's going to be over 6. I keep the denominator the same. Do the same thing with my other fraction. So 3 times 3 gives me 9, plus 1 is 10 over 3. And then I bring down my variable. So now I'm going to find the LCD. I'm going to list my denominators, which are 3 and 6. My multiples for 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. My multiples for 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24. I notice that the smallest number that they have in common is 6, so that's my LCD. I'm going to multiply my equation by 6, so I'm going to distribute and multiply with my first term and my second term. So 25 times 6 is going to give me 150 over 6, and then 10 times 6 gives me 60 over 3. And then I bring down my variable. So now I'm going to go ahead and divide. 150 divided by 6 will give me 25. And then 60 divided by 3 will give me 20c. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide because I noticed that 20 times c is multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 20. This side's going to cancel out because 20 divided by 20 gives me 1. So I'm going to be left with 25 over 20 equals c. However, I know that I can simplify and I can divide by 5 on both sides. So 25 divided by 5 is going to give me 5, and then 20 divided by 5 will give me 4. That's going to be C. Or I can also do 1 and 1/4. If I go ahead and make my fraction mad, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5 over 4 will still give me 5 over 4. So my answer is 5 over 4 or 1 and 1/4. Example 7. Solve the equation 1 and 1/2s equals 16 and 1/2. So what I'm going to do is make my fractions mad. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, and my denominator stays the same, which is 2. And bring down my s, equals 2 times 16 is 32, plus 1 is 33 over 2. Since my denominators are the same, my LCD is going to be 2. So I'm going to multiply the whole equation by 2. I'm going to distribute and multiply with my first term and my second term. So 3 times 2 will give me 6 over 2, S, equals 33 times 2 will give me 66 over 2. I'm going to go ahead and divide. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3S. 66 divided by 2 will give me 33. So since 3 times s is multiplication, I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3 on both sides. So 3 divided by 3 cancels out, and I'm going to be left with just s. 33 divided by 3 will give me 11. So my answer is s equals 11.